Hi friends, we have an introductory video for lacing in raft floors, and today we are going to be doing something super special. We have our junior team behind us and they're going to be helping us out to lace this floor in.
So this is the stitch plate here. We have the grommets and the drain holes and then the chafe guard behind it. And this is the zone that we need to be able to create space. We need to be able to push the tube up and out of the way so we can get in there and do some lacing. Once we put the floor in, this whole zone can kind of become tight and a really difficult place to get big hands in and out.
The first step is to orient your floor so that the valve is facing upwards when the boat is right side up. Next, you want to make sure that your floor is laced in properly on the bow side if you have an asymmetrical boat. Make sure your floor is oriented between the outer tube and the stitch plate. At that point, you're going to need to locate your last drain hole. When you have that last drain hole, you're going to take a small, short piece of throwaway rope and you're going to tie that through the grommets and the drain holes to make sure that the floor hangs properly when you turn it up on its side or when you set it on the sawhorses to lace in the floor of your boat.
So we're lining up the factory marks in the middle. If you have a newer SOTAR, they'll have them there, but if not, there's a way to find the center. And then on the side grommets, we're pre-lacing the rope through the grommet and the drain hole and tying it at the top of the drain plate, stitch plate, just to keep the boat, the floor up, easier to work with.
And if you don't have these factory marks over here, you can start at the bow, count all the grommets from the center of the bow all the way to the back of the boat, divide that by 2, and you'll get to the center, and you can align the grommets that way if there aren't factory marks on the boat.
So right now we're going to be dunking our webbing in the water. So this webbing shrinks when it's dry, but when it's wet it can be expandable and it makes it easier as if we're in the water. So we're going to do this like we're in the water. So yeah. With our webbing, we're finding our center to tie in the webbing to the whole boat. So you find the center by grabbing your 2 ends, start pulling it through your hands. And then once you find the end, you're gonna do an overhand knot with the bite, and it's gonna be easy to take out and redo. So, and in the end, we're gonna be taking this out, so you don't need to do a bunch. It's just one easy knot. So yeah.
The next step is to locate the center point of your boat. Once you've located the center point of your boat, you're going to start stitching by threading the lacing through the floor, coming out the stitch plate, and you're going to want to pull that all the way down to the knot that you just tied in the center to make sure that the floor lacing is going to be even across the entire boat.
I'm feeding everything that he gives me through the opposite grommet. So if he feeds through this one, I'm going to do the one right above it. And then once I pull through all the slack through, I'm going to go the one right to the left of it. And he'll see this, once I do this, and he'll grab the slack that I give him. He'll pull through and do the exact same thing I'm doing, but on the opposite side.
We are holding the boat up. This is the most important job of the squad. If you want, you can even take a little nap right here, just leaning on the boat. It's my little baby.
When you get to the small strand of throwaway rope, and you've laced all the way to that point, you can go ahead and untie that, since it will no longer be needed. After you've untied it, you can just continue lacing around the boat as normal. Once you've stitched all the way around the boat, the next thing that you want to do is go back to the original knot that you tied in the center of the floor webbing. Go ahead and untie that knot, get a partner to help you, and pull out all of the slack in the floor stitches. You're going to do this all the way around the boat until you reach the tails on the far side.
The strand of webbing that's coming from the left and going to the right, I'm going to take it, I'm going to pass it under one of these stitches and pull it through. Then I'm going to pass it under another stitch and pull it through, and it's going to come back this way. So on the other side, I'm doing the same thing. I'm passing it under a stitch, coming to another stitch, the second stitch from the center, and pulling it through. So this helps keep these loops short. I can double it back, and I'm now going to do a trucker's hitch right here. So again, trying to keep all of my strands as short as possible, or as loop small as possible. I'm passing it back the same way that it came from. So again, over here, passing it back under. And the cleaner and the fewer twists that you put in this, the better it's gonna flow. So now we have this short little section. I'm gonna come over to one side, get my webbing nice and flat. I'm going to tie an overhand with the bite. And this overhand with the bite is as close to passing under that stitch as I can get it. I'm going to take the tail, pass it through, and this is how I'm going to keep tension on the whole system, as I'm pulling this, and all of the slack, the looseness is getting pulled out. If there's a ton of slack and this stitch right here starts to get pulled over, you'll want to undo everything that you've just done, pull the slack out of that stitch, and restart this process. We're trying to get it so that we're just holding tension on the tension that's already there instead of trying to pull more slack out of the system. So I've given this a pretty solid tug. I feel good about it. So I'm gonna tie this off. So I'm pinching it here so there's no slack. I'm passing a bite, or the tail over, and then a bite through the loop. If you've tied a trucker's hitch, this will look very familiar. So I've got that tied off with a slip knot, keeping that tight. I'm gonna pull that to be a little bit shorter. Then I'm gonna tie a half hitch around that slip knot bite. And from here, I can daisy chain this. You can also just pass it through like that, and that's generally good enough. But we're gonna daisy chain and daisy chain. So now that system is secure. If we ever see this coming undone, we just re-daisy chain it and make sure that's all good. The tail on this side, I'd cut this off, melt the end, and that way I don't even have to deal with this tail.
This is the standard system in any SOTAR raft. This floor design is going to make sure that you can remove your floor. If you destroy your floor, you need to send it back to the factory. You need some work done on it, or there might be other reasons like packing it up and sending it off to France like we are right now. That can help you reduce the weight, get it into a check bag, and get that boat on a foreign expedition. So this is going to be a great system to know how to do and understand, and it's just a general good part of boat ownership. So if you have any questions, drop those below, and we will see you next time on